Good evening, everyone. We are gathered here for the 14th episode of our Industry Connect series. So, many of you might have dreamt of starting a career in space tech. Today, we have a special guest who will be explaining about the opportunities in the space sector. He's the former chairman and managing director, New Space India Limited, and former deputy director, LPSC ISRO. Let's welcome Mr. G. Narayanan. Welcome to the session, sir.
Thank you.
To give an introduction about the session and the speaker, I welcome Mr. Anand Damas, General Manager and Head of Product with skillActz. Finally, I welcome all others who are present here today. Let's make this an interactive session. Students, please note a Google form will be shared at the end of the session. Please fill in the Google form to receive certificate of participation.
Uh, Thank you, Sangeeta. And good evening, all. Good evening, Narayan sir. Very happy to have you here today. So, we may have some of the regular participants of this session, but for the benefit of others, the purpose of the objective of us conducting this event is to provide opportunities to our youngsters to listen to people from the industry so that we get an exposure to the thinking and what is happening in the industry, and in the hope that that be useful for you to plan your career and to move forward with life. We have had different kinds of people as guests in this session in the past. So, senior people, senior CEOs and people like that. We have also had some youngsters who have only recently started working. They were sharing with us about what their experience in the work life has been like. So these are the kind of experiences we are trying to bring to you. So today's is a really exciting session that we have. Even personally, I am looking forward to hearing from Narayanan sir, because if you have been following this sector and generally the news, you would have probably read that the government has a policy of promoting and opening up the space sector to commercial enterprises and private players. They want to encourage that. So there are many startups now slowly coming up in that space, and therefore it is a very exciting career opportunity for the aspiring people among us, and there are a variety of roles waiting for us in that sector. Even very recently, in the last few days, for example, the government has come up with another policy for promoting deep tech startups, because in the last 10 years our due to the various policies, a lot of startups have come up in India, and India is emerging as one of the startup capitals of the world. And if we take within India, apart from Bangalore, which is of course the largest tech center, and also the traditionally startup activities, and in fact anything interesting used to be concentrated in the metros. But in the last several years, many tier 2 and tier 3 cities, and within that, especially Trivandrum and Kochi and Kerala in general has been emerging as a really vibrant and deep startup ecosystem. So this has been happening over the last several years. So and now the government wants to promote what are called deep tech startups. Also, these are companies which use really high-end, cutting-edge technologies for various applications, which includes the space sector, which we are dealing with today. So I would like to take this opportunity to once again welcome Narayanan sir to tell us about the opportunities and other aspects of this sector. So before that, a little bit more of introduction about him. So he is a former CMD of the New Space India Limited, which is again a company which was formed to promote private sector collaboration with the space sector. He has been working with the ISRO in various capacities since 1983, a deputy director at the Liquid Propulsion Center, and various assignments related to that. He is an alumnus of the College of Engineering, Trivandrum, and also has a postgraduate degree in mechanical engineering. So he has been part of launch vehicles, manufacturing, materials, quality assurance, system reliability, various aspects of the space program. And very interestingly, he has also served 4 years in a diplomatic assignment as first secretary space at the Embassy of India in Paris, and he was the ISRO's technical liaison officer for Europe. So he represented India in various international fora. He is also currently the chairman of the board of trustees of the Vikram Sarabhai Trust of the Department of Space, Government of India. So we have with us today a person who is really apt to tell us about these things. So on to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Anand, for the nice introduction. I don't know from where you got all my CV and all that. Anyway, it was fairly correct, except that coming to the Vikram Sarabhai Trust, I was the chairman, but no longer in that position now. I have relinquished that charge also. Okay, fine. So now coming to our topic today, we are supposed to be discussing about the challenges and opportunities in the space sector. Good that skillActz is periodically organizing such things for the benefit of the students who are looking forward for a bright career or profession in their in future. I'm sure that these kind of lectures will give them a clear guidance as to how they can use, hone their skills to and select the correct area which they find interesting. Good. Now I will now start sharing my presentation. I have a small presentation to make.
Sir, I think you have shared this window.
Yeah.
Do you have the presentation open in this
Yeah,
window?
yeah, it's there, it's there.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
I think I have a problem with that. Please tell me what to do with this. The presentation is open in my home screen.
So maybe you can try presenting the whole screen.
Yeah, I am presenting the entire screen.
So right
But
now you have stopped presenting.
right now I have stopped. Yes.
Last time you had presented only the current window.
No, I have.
And
I had given as the share the entire screen.
maybe we can try once again. Sometimes these things happen like this.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I think it is coming now. Maybe you can bring the other window to the front. Or if you can send it quickly to Govind, we can
It
have.
could be. It could be bit. It's bit big file, so
Oh,
it
okay,
may be
okay.
difficult.
Sir, maybe Govind here.
Yeah, tell
If
me.
you're present, no, if you're clicking to that present now button, you can see a
Mm-hmm.
window. No, there's a window button. No.
1 minute. Sorry.
Instead of entire screen, there will be a window button, sir.
1 minute.
Narayanan, you're on mute.
It's giving me the only the option of presenting the entire screen.
Sir, then you can try that, sir. Maybe I can help you.
It says now it says allow to share window.
Yeah. On the window thing, there will be this PPT, PowerPoint screen as well. So we can click onto that.
Okay.
You can minimize the screen, sir. Then the other screen will be visible.
You have the presentation now?
I can see that Google Meet screen, sir. But maybe if you are minimizing this screen, the other screen will be visible.
There doesn't seem to be a minimize button there, right?
Yeah.
Govind, can you see? There is no minimize button on that screen.
This is an
But
Apple
this is
machine.
a Chrome. You are using that Chrome browser, sir.
Yeah.
Please select that file, exact file location. Sir, in the presentation button, you will click that. They show that specific file folder.
It is not showing that.
Okay. So maybe could you share it with me, even if it is a
No,
large.
it's a large file. It may not come.
Uh,
Is there some difference between Mac and other computers? Govind, Anand?
Yeah, slightly different.
So what would be the
I think what is happening is when we try to share the specific window, we are sharing the browser window. So instead of that, if we try to share the presentation window, it might work. I'm guessing. I am also not familiar with the Mac.
Narayanan, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's come out now correctly. I think it's fine now, right?
it's fine. Are you able to see?
Yes, we can see now.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, fine.
This is good. We can see it.
Okay, fine. Anyway, we'll not lose time now. We'll get going. So before we, 1 minute, I think. Are you getting some echo or something like that?
I think it
No,
is all right.
it's perfect.
It's all right.
It's
Okay,
perfect.
fine.
Yeah.
Fine. So before we look into the opportunities that the sector offers, we must get to know a little bit about the history of its development and how it has happened over the time. When you look at space activities globally, the entire programs, the first was the German V2 rocket, which was a child of the World War II, which was the first long-range guided missile that entered into space. Subsequently, the Soviet Union put in orbit the Sputnik 1, which was also put into orbit by a rocket which was derived from the R-7 Semyorka, which was an ICBM. They started the space race world over, driven by military ambitions. Coming to the United States again, it was Mr. Von Braun, who was the father of the V2 rocket, who further took forward the American space program. So thus, if you see, world over, it had evolved or emanated from the military programs. Whereas on the contrary, the Indian space journey commenced with the aim of utilizing modern technologies to address the real problems of man and society. Thus, if you see, there is a stark difference on how our program has evolved as compared to the others. If ours was purely a civilian program. And the primary driver at those times was the vision of our leaders. If I may recall, Pandit Nehru addressing the scientific community of the country made this observation. It's science alone that can solve the problems of hunger and poverty, of insanitation and illiteracy, of superstition and deadening custom and tradition, of vast resources running to waste, or in short, a rich country inhabited by starving people. Most of you today may not be able to appreciate this because today hunger, poverty, to a large extent, the effect of superstitions and the resource utilizations have improved. So many of you may not be able to appreciate it. But to know the little bit of the background, even in our own state, if you had cultivation at one district, you were not allowed to transport your produce from one district to another without the government authorization. That was the type of poverty and hunger at the time of independence. But still, at that time, the leaders had gone ahead and promoted science for various reasons. Taking cue on this, the father of the Indian space program, Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, took the drive to popularize or to develop space technology for the development of the country. There had been several criticism on spending money for the development of space from a country which had the background which Pandit Nehru had briefed in his address. Vikram Sarabhai had, in very clear terms, without mincing words, given answer to this. And most of you may be familiar with this quote. There are some who question the relevance of space activities in a developing nation. If we are to play a meaningful role nationally and in the Committee of Nations, we shall be second to none in the application of advanced technologies to the real problems of man and society. This great visionary translated the vision of the then leaders, political leaders, to reality. Thus started the development of the space program in our country with the primary target of benefiting the nation, the society, and the citizen, enabling growth in allied technology sectors, develop advanced technologies and maintain high-tech competence, create a niche for Indian space assets, products, and services in the global market. The point to be noted here is that it was never intended as a competition with anyone. So thus, to meet the requirements, the space applications is the one that is the final target that we need to get for the social, economic, security, sustainable development, governance, and various other synergetic applications. For space applications to happen, you need to have a space infrastructure with satellites in orbit. So satellite development was taken up, and satellites cannot go into orbit without a space transport vehicle. So the development of space transportation systems were also initiated. And to undertake all these tasks, we require various capacities by way of human resources, infrastructure, cooperation, in academic support, etc. All these points were successfully addressed, and the indigenous development had been fairly successful. If you look at the today's level, 93% of the launch vehicle is realized completely indigenous. This has happened over a period of time by undertaking various indigenization and replacement and development efforts. Whereas in the case of satellites, as on date, we have reached just around 50%, mainly because of the lack in electronics and the semiconductor development that has happened globally elsewhere. So we are currently addressing this, and the government is very serious on this, and they are in the process of addressing this, and slowly this will also catch up. So coming to what the space application verticals are, you must also note that these are all the areas where definitely there is a large scope for the newcomers to enter and contribute. Coming to socio-economic security in all these areas, sustainable development, disaster risk reduction, and governance. So far, what had happened is that ISRO had been spearheading all these things and trying to popularize this by making people aware of the benefits. And most of you today will be knowing that space is contributing to all these areas. Coming to that was on the Earth observation verticals. Coming to communication, we know what are all today happening for societal applications of applications on telecommunication, telemedicine, teleeducation, and all these activities. These are all the verticals on communication. Coming to navigation, navigation today, without navigation, many of us will be lost in this world. So today we have a full-fledged regional Indian navigation system, IRNSS, which is fully operational now, and currently now upgraded replacements are under final stages, and those satellites will also be in orbit shortly. You might have heard that our fishermen getting arrested for crossing the international borders, or they entering into the exclusive economic zones of other countries are widely known. ISRO has developed an app for them which will alert them whenever they cross into others economic zone, so that they can return or change their direction and get back. Of course, this is then we also had worked on creating the scientific temper. This is primarily to speed up the space exploration part, and also to generate a scientific temper among the younger generation of the country. I'm sure the missions like Chandrayaan, Mars Orbiter mission, etc., have ignited the young minds, and they are very keen to uh, pursue science as a career. So, little bit of how it got developed. These were the initial photographs of how the Indian space program commenced. Those days, it was this is a nose cone of the rocket, which was being carried on a bicycle. That was also satellite being transported in a bullock cart. These are all innovative solutions found. It is not that we could not find a motor vehicle to transport this, but this was a requirement that there should be no EMI interference, and this was one way they found that the interference can be minimized. So from this, we have reached the moon, Mars, and beyond. So this had generated a little bit of jealousy kind on the Western world, and this was one cartoon that appeared in the New York Times, which was a little bit ridiculing on India. India knocking on the elite space club when they were reading about the India's Mars mission. And when Chandrayaan landing was being attempted, this was another cartoon where they see our rover being pulled by a bullet. But there had been big hue and cry from their own readers, and the New York Times had apologized for the first cartoon that they had they had published in their first thing. Now, coming to the specific opportunity. The global space economy today is estimated at about $390 billion, which is approximately 31 lakh crores of Indian rupees. It's something which is mind-boggling. Conservative independent studies by leading global consultants indicate this to triple in about 20 years, next 20 years time, so that it could become a trillion economy. And there are other studies which says it can go even up to 3 trillion. The key point that most of you can keep in mind is that 75% of the current space economy is generated by the private sector. Of this $390 billion space market, India's commercial market is estimated to be only a big 2%. This has caught the attention of the government, and the government has taken very proactive action to announce the reforms and provide the right ecosystem for Indian students, startups, industries, institutions, and academia to effectively contribute and generate significant part of that pie. In its current trajectory, Indian space business is expected to reach at least 40 billion US dollar by 2040, whereas the potential is estimated to be up to 100 billion US dollars. It's all up to the newcomers into space, the new startups, the new industry, the new academics to tap this balance 60 billion, so that both the nation as well as those individuals can stand to gain. In general, there is a misconception that building of satellites and launch vehicles is a major part of the space economy. But we must, you all must be surprised to note that the upstream activities of satellite manufacturing and launch services generate only about 5 to 10% of the total market, whereas 90 to 95% comes from the downstream operations, which are from based on satellite-based services and value-added services. Of course, the ground equipment and terminal manufacturing is also a major money spinner and revenue generator. This is the breakup. If you see, out of the 390 billion or 380 billion, now the satellite manufacturing is generating only about $14 billion, and the launch industry is about just 6 billion. The entire rest comes from the service industry and the ground equipment and related other businesses. One more, okay, that I'll come to it later. So, in a nutshell, the reforms of the space sector is to promote and enable a larger role by non-governmental players by providing the right environment. So for this, the government has announced the reforms which intends to promote them by creating a conducive, facilitating legal framework, provide level playing field to all players, level playing field by by virtue of even sharing all government facilities established in this field at very nominal rate to all those who are interested to utilize those. then offering technological challenges to new startups and others, promoting an ideal ecosystem for growth. The major initiatives in this are change from supply-driven model to demand-driven model for providing space assets to users. This is what I told. So far, ISRO had been working by popularizing the usage of space for various developmental activities and all that. Now that it has been proven and also demonstrated beyond doubt that the potential of this sector to generate or to support all these areas is tremendous. ISRO is withdrawing from this role and leaving that for innovative idea generators and startups to take up and carry this forward. Then creating a new vertical under the Department of Space called the Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center as an autonomous single window regulatory body. InSpace will act as a facilitating and regulating body for non-governmental participants. But this will also permit ISRO to focus further on R&D by separating out the routine activities to the public sector enterprise. This is the public sector enterprise which I was heading. Today, this public sector enterprise, the New Space of India Limited, it's a 7,500 crore authorized capital company. They operate about 5 or 6 operational communication satellites and is recently into the launch of various commercial satellites. If you may recall, there was the first commercial mission of the biggest rocket of ISRO, the GSLV Mark III, was carried out. 2 of those launches were carried out by this company, New Space India Limited. This in space, which is created to promote the private as well as startups, they will promote and handhold. It's not only promotion; they will handhold them. They will give all required assistance that is available at their disposal. At their disposal means at the government's disposal. Facilitate sharing of technology and expertise from ISRO, facilitate access to ISRO's unique and capital intensive facilities at affordable cost, facilitate establishment of new infrastructure and temporary facilities within the premises under ISRO control based on the need, feasibility, assessment, safety norms, and other statutory guidelines. Example is a launch pad. If a private company today wants to have a launch pad, they will be allowed to set up one within the Sri Harikota campus, which is the only spaceport of India as on today. They will also permit activities as per the regulatory provisions and statutory guidelines. They will also monitor and oversee the space activities by non-governmental participants. They will also facilitate the registration of their satellites as Indian government authorized satellite. As you all must be knowing, or some of you at least may not be knowing, the outer space activities are covered by or controlled by the United Nations Office of Outer Space Affairs, and registration of every space object is required, and that can be done only through governmental sources. Similarly, whenever a rocket launch happens, that also should be that also is covered under various liability issues. In case a rocket falls on a foreign land, there will be a lot of liability and all that. So all these things will be supported by this new in-space mechanism. So these will be also be supported by enabling legal and policy framework to ensure that the national commitments under the Outer Space Treaty as well as the welfare and well-being of the citizens are protected. Today, if you authorize somebody to launch a rocket, he launches a rocket and the rocket lands on land where human habitation is there, it can cause large scale damages. So all these things need to be protected, and that the government will support the fail safe launch of these kind of things. Towards this, the policies and laws are under various stage of formulation, and several policies and laws are on the pipeline. The National Space Law and the Space Act is also being formulated. Now, coming to the global scenario, the age of new space is alive globally. If you look at the US and the Europe, US had started this at least about 10 to 15 years back. The Europe has started at least 5 to 8 years back, and India started this in the year 2020. Even though private participation for ISRO's program had been very large, the independent activities by the private sector was practically nil. By initiating the space reforms 3 years back, government has given the impetus to this also. So now, as the Indian entrepreneurs or startups try to get into the thing, the major drivers that apart from the policy, legal, and financial stimuli that I had spoken, the drivers are the innovative schemes and business models. In addition to what has been already demonstrated as the capabilities of space, you can think and bring out newer ideas and business models, then providing integrated solutions. When a government agency does, it may be in bits and pieces here and there, but you can always think of an integrated solution, combining all the benefits of space together. That will automatically reduce prices, will reduce lead time. These are the things that will drive further lower complexity, better flexibility, etc. Then exploration of new markets such as in-orbit servicing. Space debris is becoming a major issue today. So there are no much work that has been done on this debris removal except for one Japanese company who is actively working on that. So all those have a lot of opportunities. Then private investment tools, venture capitals, private equity, loans, prizes, crowdfunding, angel investors are all ready to fund. And of course, in India, the funding had come primarily from individual venture capitalists rather than organized venture capitalists. But things will change as the program picks up. Today, India boasts of about 100 space startups, majority of them coming up after the initiation of the reforms process. And since 2021, they have already raised almost 200 million US dollars in funding. The current support system available to new participants are most of these were available earlier also, but now the facilitating legal and policy framework is also in place. Now, support for IPR generation, for startups, for outreach, for technical infrastructure sharing, academic interfaces offering challenges to the academics, then providing interface with the industry, providing human resource development support. So these are the things a little bit explained as sponsored research. This is something which ISRO had been always supporting, encouraging academia to select topics depending on their expertise and which are of relevance to ISRO, and support them both financially as well as with technical support. So today there are space technology cells and IITs, IISs, University of Pune, and several others are also in the pipeline. Then outreach with the academia and as well as the industry. There are regional academic space centers for space applications, etc. Then there is a young scientist program called Yuvika, which is to catch the children young who have completed their ninth standard, who are studying in the ninth standard, or based on their eighth standard marks, they are given about a month's, 2 weeks residential training with all costs borne by ISRO. So all these facilities are there. Then, as I said, these are all the new initiatives in the work. But of course, this is Atmanirbhar Bharat. This Atal Innovation Mission is already in operation, so that can also be utilized. Then, National Academic Partner, that program also has been initiated. Recently, there are news that some partners have been uh, brought into that. These are some of the things which will be very useful for people who would like to work in the development of the applications part, from where you get the data from space and then develop unique and exclusive uh, products which are marketable and which has demand. We must understand that India, China, and a lot of Africa are large markets for all these space-based data products. So this is one platform, Bhuvan, of ISRO, which can be reached through this website, bhuvan.nrsc.gov.in, where 60 terabytes of time series satellite data with a reasonably good resolution is available. All these are available free of cost to any user who would like to use this. Since you can see, since 2011, when it has initiated, there had been 1.2 million downloads. And this can be used for various purposes like e-governance, societal applications, etc., etc. Then another thing is this visualization of Earth observation data and archival system called Vedas. This is also available at the site vedas.sac.gov.in. This can be used for various agriculture-based and agriculture-based purposes based on geospatial data availability. So here also you can get a lot of data. They also conduct capacity building and training programs, which can also be utilized. This is another thing for the meteorological data for oceanographic and studies and other purposes. It's called MOSDAQ. Here you can get it in mosdac.gov.in. You can get all this data related to ocean related satellite data. Here also you have training programs too. Then for those who want to have a hands-on experience, you can utilize the outreach facility at Hyderabad. This provides knowledge sharing, training, academic partnership, industry collaboration, etc., etc., in various areas that has been detailed here. Then ISRO also transfers various technologies that has been developed by it. This need not be for space purpose itself. It can be the technology can be used for various other non-space commercial purposes with huge market potential. For example, the artificial limb, the Jaipur limb, which is a spin-off of the space technology development, There's fireproof coating which can find large applications elsewhere. A lot of chemicals are there which can be used for various purposes. You can see there are till date more than 300 technologies have been transferred to the industry. These are some of the technologies that had been transferred. Then coming to capacity building, of course, the Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology is a basic education setup. It's a purely education center, something which can be some way be compared with IITs or something like that, but specific to space science and technology. This is based in Trivandrum. They offer undergraduate, postgraduate, and doctoral programs. Come for those who would like to take specific courses. The Center for Space Science and Technology Education is for the Asia Pacific, which is located at Dehradun and Ahmedabad, offers 9-month postgraduate courses in remote sensing, geoinformation systems, satellite communication, satellite meteorology, space science, etc. They also have short-term other certificate courses too. The Indian Institute of Remote Sensing also offers PG diploma, certificate, customized courses, etc. Of course, space looks very attractive and lucrative, but it carries with it a huge amount of risk, especially for the upstream activities of satellite building, launch vehicle building, launching and putting the satellite into operation. This photo, many of you may be familiar with. This was the launch failure of the Challenger space shuttle, where the primary school teacher's life was lost along with the other astronauts. This was a turning point. Then this was somehow the space research survived that. But a little later, this was followed by the Columbia disaster, where we lost the Indian origin astronaut Kalpana Chawla, also along with 6 or 7 other astronauts. This was the final nail on the coffin of this shuttle program. Such a magnificent program had to be shelved. These are the risks associated with space. Of course, these failures and other things were not restricted to the United States. This was our own failure. It may look fantastic like a fireworks, but it was the unfortunate failure of our GSLV F-06 vehicle very shortly after liftoff. A simple example to show the intricacies and the difficulties in space. This was a dream picture of the space explorers. There are 2 launch vehicles standing ready for launch and ready to take off within a gap of 36 hours. But very unfortunately, both the launch attempts had to be scrapped. And when the reason was studied, it was found that a tiny bit of lacquer grounded both this rocket. It had blocked a very minute hole in one of the engines, and this had called off. Had to be called off. Here, the point to be noted is that this intended payload was for the United States Air Force. So the United States Air Force has very, very stringent quality control and monitoring procedures, much more severe than the civilian program, and still this kind of a problem happened. So that shows the susceptibility of space program. So when you come to quality control, in the background of our Prime Minister's campaign of Make in India, I quote from an from an industrialist. I believe if all suppliers follow quality in India, then they will be able to overcome the US and China, and they can acquire the number one position in the global market. Of course, this had nothing to do with space, but this was spoken by Osamu Suzuki, the chairman of Suzuki Motors Corporation in 2015. So this shows from his own experience in the in the automobile sector itself, he feels that quality control needs to be severely improved in our country. So for all of you who would like to take up a career or business in space, keep in mind quality control is to be given prime focus. So now with all this, the opportunities offered by ISRO and its erstwhile supporting industries and the new emerging startups, new entrants, and existing industries taking up bigger roles offers a lot of scope for all the new generation people. The opportunities come in the field of engineering, management. Management covers all areas like business management, administrative jobs, all those things. And legal. Legal is one area that is likely to find a lot of takers in the coming time because of the commitments of the nation to the space laws and the international treaties which covers the space operation. So keep in mind, as I had already told you, enabling functions of building and launching satellites that launch vehicles contribute less than 10%. 95%, 90 to 95% comes from satellite ground equipment, navigation, TV service, various user terminals, applications, development, and services. Artificial intelligence and machine learning is expected to emerge as a major contributor in all areas of space economy. Automation, robotics, green environment promotion, etc., will also offer opportunities and challenges. Okay, now we had seen the history, how it has developed, and where we stand now, and what are the opportunities. Some people may think, what if space is wound up tomorrow? Look at these great men and their predictions. Stephen Hawking has told, it's important for human race to spread out into space for survival of the species. Life on Earth is at ever increasing risk of being wiped out by a disaster such as an asteroid collision, sudden global warming, nuclear war, a genetically engineered virus, or other damages we have not yet thought of. So this prediction had been done by him quite long back, and we have very recently seen the effect of a genetically engineered virus, probably. And and most of the prediction by these people have become reality in the past, and I'm confident that these predictions, the prediction that he has made, but once we spread out into space and establish independent colonies, our future should be safe. Similarly, the other great person, Arthur Clarke, has told after 2020, this is also, we must understand that these predictions were also made at least 20, 25 years back. After 2020, as artificial intelligence reaches human level, there will be two intelligent species on planet Earth, one evolving far more rapidly. By 21, first humans will land on Mars. In 2057, the centennial of Sputnik 1, the dawn of space age, will be celebrated by humans not only on Earth but on Moon, Mars, Jupiter, Jupiter's moons Europa, Ganymede, and on Saturn's moon Titan. The end of the century will see the development of true space drive, a propulsion system reacting against the structure of space-time. This will make the rocket propulsion obsolete and permit velocities close to that of light. The first explorers will set off to nearby star system that robo probes have already found promising, and then history will truly begin. So you see now 2021, he said we'll land on Mars, but we are not very far. I am sure in another 5 years, man will be landing on Mars. Similarly, Paul Davis, who is the key person today in driving the extraterrestrial intelligence activities, he also feels the one of the mysteries, either the origin of universe, the origin of life, or the origin of human consciousness, will definitely be solved by the 21st century. Okay, in short, space is calling, opportunities are plenty in research and development, as well as in business opportunities. Environment is ripe and friendly in our country. Take the plunge and answer the challenge. And I conclude with this. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you, sir. So, it was really fascinating listening to this. And for all the other participants, now is the time you can use this opportunity to interact and ask questions. So make use of it. Making it interactive will make it more fun. It will be useful for all of us. So let us get started. And as you you might think of questions to ask. Let me get started. So, sir, in terms of location, these space startups and opportunities. Obviously, Bangalore is one major center. And what about the other places? Is location a constraint for a space startup?
Location is never a concern for space startups. It can be anywhere, and the support that is being extended will be there. The advantage of location is that if you when you have a startup or something like that, if you want to attract youngsters today, they prefer to be in metros rather than any other place. That is the only thing that will drive a location specific choice. Otherwise, it can be anywhere. It can be operated from anywhere. Of course, today most of them have come up either in Bangalore, in Hyderabad, or in Ahmedabad. Many of them have come up, but the incubation center at IIT Chennai is doing well. So it can happen anywhere.
So we have a question from Alan Uman Kurian, on the chat. He is asking. He recently completed his polytechnic diploma in electrical and electronics engineering. So, what is the next thing that he can do to enter this field?
To enter this field, you can have your own kind of startup. That will be the best that you can think of today, because the environment is right. Or you can join any of the new startups that are working in this field, depending on your interest. Data management is one thing which is widely used for the remote sensing purposes related to agriculture, NAPA, or farming, or ocean technology, or anything like that. That is one of those are the things in the private sector. You can also look for openings in the established space sector companies where they can offer this. Then, of course, ISRO offers opportunity for you to join, but then the number of openings and the competition will be too high. If you can make it, ISRO publishes. ISRO, of course, is like any other government body. They take people through the public announcement and selection process, which will be bit competitive, but it's not difficult. There are so many people with diploma who join ISRO. Subsequently, ISRO also provides the right opportunity for you to improve your academic qualification and get to your doctoral degree within a very short period. So there are people who have utilized those facilities and done extremely well in ISRO. So ISRO is one opportunity. The startups are another. You can have your own startup is one, and the conventional industries who had been supporting space is another. I hope I made something. Okay.
What would be the opportunities for somebody from a non-technical background in this?
That, that is what I was telling. With so much of startups and other things coming up, there are large opportunities in the management side. Establishing a company and running it is not a technical person's job. It can be,
Mm.
you need MBAs, you need administrators, you need finance people, you need lawyers. So opportunities are there for every field. And now with human space mission also coming up, but there are a lot of opportunities for paramedics, doctors, etc., etc.
Thank you, sir.
Lawyers is one thing that will come up now because once the Space Act also comes into being and Parliament approves it, every activity can get questioned. So lawyers will also have a major role to play.
So, a couple of questions on the chat. We have Imran and Dinesh. So, they have completed their BTech IT, MCA degrees. So, what are the opportunities they are asking? So, maybe I will also add, as a general thing. If somebody has just graduated or is still studying, what would be the specific skills they could be adding which will help them
Yeah,
to get?
that's what I told. I had told you about three websites. That is
Hmm.
Mosdac, Vedas, and Bhuvan. They
Hmm.
can just go into that and see what the space applications are.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So, both these people who have specifically asked your MCA as well as BTech IT, they can look into these kind of applications, what is being done, how it is being used. They can also have a hands-on training there, hands-on trial by downloading data from there and utilizing it and finding out. In fact, Bhuvan has about 10 or 12 layers giving data for various agriculture, farming, or water management, or natural resource management, anything, multiple things. So they can look into those things, try to understand what their areas of interest are specifically, and then, if required, take up some of these short-term courses which are being offered by this Indian Institute of Remote Sensing or the Center for Space Science and Technology Education or something like that. and get going. Today, you know, the company Map My India. Today, they are doing extremely well. They have initially used a lot of data from ISRO. So this is one thing. Other things is that there are incubation centers available. You can have a discussion with them. The IIT Chennai is one of the prosperous incubation center, very close to South India also. If the people are from South India, they can utilize that. I think, and one advantage with Chennai is that they have focus on space also.
One question is, are there any internship opportunities or some portal which provides this, which you are aware of?
No, but the thing is, for master's students, they have this project work which ISRO encourages. Other than that, there are not much of internships as of now. But there's 1 month, 2 month kind of internships are in the pipeline that is being worked out, but it is yet to be formalized.
Okay.
Yes, if your interest is in aerospace engineering specifically, and you have a vision on how your aerospace engineering degree will take you into the aerospace field, definitely yes, it will be beneficial. This is the question from Aditya Vishnu. If but then what happens is that if you're already working in a space sector or something like that, taking an aerospace degree will always add a lot of value. But otherwise, you should definitely be having a vision on how you will enter into aerospace and utilize it. Otherwise, you are limiting your field of action by choosing aerospace engineering. Government schemes are there that thought I had shown some of them. One is this Atal Innovation Mission of Government of India. There you can propose things on this space related things that will happen. And there are some other things which are being worked out by Department of Space itself, but then that is yet to take a final shape. But once that comes, that also will be there as government scheme. Otherwise, the government scheme is now is to support. You have to initiate certain things, and then you will have a lot of missing ends, or you will need technical support or anything. You can approach in space, and they will give you whatever support you are looking for. On the PhD on atmospheric sciences, your professors will be the best guide. Of course, there are countries, of course, USA and Europe have offers very good opportunities. There is no doubt on that. But then it's better that depending on your kind of uh, interest, your professors can guide you better. They will be better connected with the universities, the academic system. I think that people are more or less satisfied or
I think there
not
was a
satisfied.
Imran.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, the Imran had raised his hand. Imran, are you there?
Imran, I think he had asked the question and
Asked a
that was
question.
answered. He had asked and it
Okay,
was answered.
possibly. Yeah.
I think maybe then we can begin to wind up. Vikram, you want to ask something? Um, no, I think maybe by mistake. Go ahead, Govind.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. So, a really great session, sir. Really wonderful. So, a lot of input, a lot of things to jot down. So, thank you very much for coming to Industry Connect. So, saying a lot of things to young freshers, the young professionals. So you mentioned a lot of things like how to get entrance to this opportunity, different opportunities in ISRO, or maybe how a new business can really flourish in this space sector. So those sort of actually things you mentioned here. So that's really useful. I hope everyone got benefited from it as well. So thank you very much, sir, for coming to Industry Connect. Thank you, Meena ma'am and sir, for making this event happen. And I also thank skillActz technical support team to make this event happen. Thank you very much, students and freshers, for joining for today's event. So really wonderful. Really, you made really interactive. So thank you, everyone. And if any of your friend missed join this event, so you can tell them like there is a live recording session available on YouTube. Recordings of this session is actually available on skillActz YouTube channel. You can actually share link to them, and I'm also sharing a Google form link right away. So actually you can fill in that form to get your certificate of participation. So thank you everyone. Thank you everyone for joining this event.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you very much, Narayanan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Meena. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.